What's up, guys? Welcome back to a21bravo. Today we're picking up an engine. Out and about, driving around again. I'm a little bit sleepy, so bear with me here. So, got out of work today, going to pick up an engine. So I found an LQ4, 200 bucks. Guy says it was running in his truck, but occasionally had low oil pressure. So he's said he checked the oil and there was like some flake in the oil. So I'm not really sure what condition this thing is going to be in. Worst case, I think I could probably like sell the heads or sell the intake if it really is that bad. I got the hoist in the truck here. Said he didn't have a lift, so bringing this thing along. I know a guy, he actually has a rotating assembly with a Gen 3 crank and Gen 4 rods and pistons. That was a transition year in the Chevy Express van, like 2006. So it still had the Gen 3 crank, but the Gen 4 rods and pistons. So that should be nice that that's all together and it's fully balanced because it came from the factory that way. So I wouldn't have to worry about any of that. So I think I'm just gonna go that route. I got about 12 minutes until I get there, so I'm gonna put you down and probably not shove a camera in this guy's face, so I'll get back when I pick it up. So we got the old one hanging on the hoist right now. Big old hole in the side. Got pretty much all the parts off it that I think I'm gonna save. Or were actually good. There wasn't very many good parts from this thing, believe it or not. The crank is shot. I don't have a full set of lifters. There's a big hole in the block. The timing cover was actually broke. So basically, oil pump, timing chain, valley cover, the back cover here. That's pretty much it. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of good left in this engine. But we got some good news! We were able to find something almost as terrible as the other one. We have another LQ4 here, and this thing is old. I mean, it's just dirty, mostly, but I guess it kind of looks just like the other one. So let me tell you a little bit about that engine. That engine was on Craigslist. The guy had it for $300 or best offer. I offered him $200. He told me $200. I asked him if he was flexible on the price, and he said $200 cash if you come get it today. I waited 2 days and then offered him $200 again when I was ready to go get it, and he said he would still take $200. So the story on the engine is 333,000 miles. I think this might be the highest mileage engine that I've ever seen anybody try to do a turbo build with, but we're gonna do it just because we can. So it has supposedly low oil pressure and was starting to rattle, as the guy said. It was still running. The day that they pulled it out of the truck, they drove it to the shop to pull it out of the truck. So when they pulled it, it was running. They said it was rattling. It's 200 bucks. Worst case, the heads are good, intake is good. I'll make my money back on that stuff. So let's pull it apart and see what it looks like. This should be interesting. So let's check this thing out. This is the new one. I did pull the driver's side valve cover off already, but I want you guys to see. Kind of in real time what I'm seeing here. So this had low oil pressure. The guy said it was starting to rattle. So what I'm looking at right now, I'm going to pull these rockers off. I want to look at all the push rods. Push rods all look like really good. So they're kind of glossy on the top, nice and shiny. And then if I look, I don't know if I can get it on the camera, but if you look through them, I usually do one of these and hold it up to the light. You can see all the way through them. So you can see light through every one of them. And none of them are scuffed up or scratched up. So that's like really good. Here's an example of kind of what I'm looking for. I don't know if I'll be able to get it on here. You can see that light, how that light kind of changes. It's because this whole thing is like scuffed and scratched up. Or if I look at this side, it's nice and glossy, smooth. This side is all scored up. So this push rod here, I had a bunch of these that I pulled out of the old engine, the one that was already in the truck. And I replaced a bunch of these push rods and the rockers because they were kind of scored up and they were starting to make metal shavings. These all look really good. I also wanted to check the oil level. The guy I got it from said that the oil was empty, but when I pulled the dipstick out, it had oil on it. He said it was empty, but I guess I'm not really too upset that it's not empty, because that means it still had oil. I guess. I don't know why that makes me feel better, but it does. Alright guys, I cut out a lot of the noise, so let's just get to business here. So I did a lot of looking already. Basically, I took off all of the rod caps to look at all the rod bearings. I can't decide where I want to stand here. So first thing that I did look at was the oil pickup tube. So these are notorious for the oil pickup tube O-ring not working properly. Oil pickup tube gasket O-ring typically goes on here. So you can see this one is split. So this wasn't actually split the first time I looked at it, but it did split when I tried to rotate it and flip it inside out. So I took so here's the other O-ring from the other engine, the one that I blew up. And if I take this thing, it's still really flexible. And I can actually flip it inside out and spin it around, and it's no problem. It's nice and soft. So this one, it's very soft and brittle. So basically, I think it might have been split a little bit. As soon as I took it and I tried to spin it, flip it inside out, it split. So this thing is pretty stiff. So see how it just cracks? It just broke. So this thing's pretty hard in a few spots. Like here, it's actually gonna bend. And then here, it's just gonna break. That might have been where the low oil pressure was coming from originally, which I was kind of expecting, and it's typically better to just go ahead and replace that anyways. So then I started going through all the rod bearings. Let's look at all the rod bearings, guys. So I'm gonna grab this one just because it's easy to grab. And you can see that, like, these actually look really, I mean, pretty good. They're not great, but they're not really that bad. Crank looks good. Let's look at another one. And you can see that I have one off right now, and there's a reason for that. I'll get to that. So let's check this guy out right back here. Nice. Like nothing even wrong with it. So these are like really, really good. But then I got to this one, and I tried to pop the cap off just like I did to the others, and it didn't come off. So it didn't come off because it was actually kind of spun inside the rod, and basically it was welded itself together on the inside here. So this thing was spun, and then if you look at the inside, we do have a lot of gouging and pitting, and this thing is junk. So this spot of the crank actually doesn't feel really that bad, but I would guess that it's worn, but probably still serviceable if you wanted to get it turned down or polished or whatever. It's really, honestly, really not even that bad. So this is really the only thing that I found so far besides the O-ring. Then I went and looked at the crank. So let's look at the crank bearings. Whoops. Let's look at the crank bearings. I mean, look at this thing. This thing's like flawless. There's like nothing wrong with this at all. So I didn't look at the other crank bearings yet, but I would guess that they're probably similar. I would hope so. And I was kind of touting, you know, the 300 horse thousand fucking, don't know what I'm saying, miles. 333,000. I was talking about 333,000 miles. I think this motor might have been gone through before. One time. Or maybe twice. I don't know. So the reason I'm thinking that is there's red sealant on the timing cover. And there's a little bit of red sealer here. And there's a little bit of red sealer on the back. So that's kind of why I think that this might have been gone through already, and this stuff might have been changed. I don't know what exactly was done, but the head bolts also look different. So this is what the head bolts look like from the other engine. They got this flange head, and they're marked, you know, 10-9 on the inside. This is the factory head bolt, and the other ones on this engine all look kind of like this. So this is the difference between the heads. So I don't know if this is a factory bolt or not. If you guys know, let me know. To me, that doesn't look like the head bolts that I'm used to seeing. The same grade, but this almost just looks like a, I don't know, something you would find at a different shop. Because they're different. So if you guys know if this is a factory bolt, let me know. Alright, so overall, after tearing everything down and looking at it, I'm pretty happy with this thing. Guy said it was a 333,000 mile engine. It could be. I think it might have been gone through before because of the gasket material that I found and a couple other things like the head bolts. So maybe it was already done, and maybe that's why the bearings look so good or look as good as they do. Don't really care. It's all coming out anyways. The crankshaft's going to come out. The pistons and rods are going to come out. The camshaft's coming out. I got a new camshaft on the way. Ordered a rotating assembly, which is a Gen 3 crankshaft that is balanced to Gen 4 pistons and rods. So I'm going to put all that junk back in there, put the cam in, slam it back together, put it in the truck, and do some things. Have a good one.